Have you ever wondered what allows a dancer to leap through the air or a weightlifter to push up a massive barbell? How can you even just, walk across the room? Well, it is all thanks to the incredible living framework that's inside all of us, your skeletal system. So today, we're going to break down this amazing internal scaffolding and see just how it makes every single movement possible.
Now, it's really easy to just think of a skeleton as some static, lifeless frame, but that couldn't be further from the truth. Your skeleton is a living, breathing, dynamic system. In fact, your body is constantly breaking down old bone and building new bone. You basically get a whole new skeleton every 10 years or so. It is so much more than just a hanger for your muscles.
So, if its job isn't just to hold us upright, what in the world does this incredibly complex system actually do?
Okay, let's get into the specifics. You see, the skeletal system has a surprisingly long job description, and every single one of its tasks is absolutely crucial, not just for doing well in sports, but for our actual survival.
There are 5 main functions you really want to remember. First up, protection. Your rib cage, it's like a built-in cage guarding your heart and lungs. And your skull? That's a natural helmet for your brain. Second, it's a point of attachment for your muscles. Bones give your muscles something to pull on to create movement. Third, it's a blood cell factory. Yep, deep inside your bones, in the marrow, your body is producing all those vital red and white blood cells. Fourth, it's a mineral vault, storing crucial stuff like calcium and phosphorus and releasing them when your body needs them. And finally, and this is where it gets really interesting for sports, it creates joints for movement.
Now, this entire system is built from 206 bones in the adult body, and believe me, they are not all shaped the same. Their different forms give us clues about what they do, so let's sort them into a few groups. We pretty much classify bones into 4 main groups. We've got long bones, like the humerus in your upper arm, which act like levers for big, powerful movements. Then there are short bones, like the little carpals in your wrist, which are kind of cube-shaped for stability in those really complex areas. Flat bones, like your sternum, act like shields for your organs. And finally, you've got irregular bones, like the vertebrae in your spine. They have these unique, complex shapes because, well, they have very specific jobs to do. It's a perfect example of how in anatomy, form truly follows function.
Okay, having all these specialized bones is great, but they'd be pretty useless for movement if they didn't have connection points. And these all-important connections are known as synovial joints.
So what's a synovial joint? Well, it's simply a place where 2 or more bones meet up to allow for movement. They're the most common type of joint in the body, and they are absolutely essential for any kind of physical activity. Let's look at the main types you're going to need to know.
2 of the most common you'll hear about are hinge joints and ball and socket joints. A hinge joint, like what you have in your knee or your elbow, moves in just one direction, back and forth, literally like a door hinge. But a ball and socket joint, like your shoulder or your hip, well, that's a whole different ballgame. It allows for a huge range of movement in pretty much every direction.
And this right here shows the difference perfectly. On the left, you've got the cricketer's shoulder, a ball and socket joint, and you can see it creating that massive circular bowling action. On the right, the tennis player's elbow, a hinge joint, is doing that simple but really powerful back and forth movement for a serve.
All right, then we get a little more specialized. The pivot joint, like the one right at the top of your neck, allows for one very specific movement: rotation. It's what lets you shake your head no. Then there's the condyloid joint in your wrist, which lets you move your hand forwards, backwards, and side to side. Perfect for waving, but without that full rotation you'd get from a ball and socket.
Okay, so we have the bones, and we have the joints that connect them. Now let's learn the actual language we use to describe the movements they create. These are the fundamentals. Flexion is just bending a joint, like when you do a bicep curl. Extension is the opposite, straightening it out. Abduction is moving a limb away from the center of your body. Think of raising your arm out to the side. Adduction is bringing it back in. Here's a little trick. Remember add for adduction. You're adding it back to the body. And here are a few more you'll come across. Rotation is that twisting movement we saw at the pivot joint in the neck. Circumduction is that big circular motion you get at a ball and socket joint, like when you circle your whole arm. And then down at the ankle, when you point your toes, that's called plantar flexion. When you pull your toes up towards your shin, that's dorsiflexion.
All right, that was a lot of information, I know. So let's put it to the test and see how you can actually apply this knowledge, using a couple of real exam-style questions.
First one up, this is for 3 marks. I want you to name 3 long bones that you can find in the arm. Take a second, think about it. You're ready? To get all 3 marks, you needed to name all 3 of these bones. You get 1 mark for the humerus, that's the one in your upper arm, a second mark for the radius, and a third for the ulna, and those are the 2 bones in your forearm. Simple as that.
Okay, let's check out a practical example. Here we see a footballer going up for a header. Keep this image in your mind for the next question.
So, the question asks us to explain how the skeleton's protective function helps the player's performance. Now that keyword is explain, and it's for 3 marks, so we're going to need to make 3 clear, connected points. And here is exactly how you nail those full marks. First point, you identify the specific bone, the cranium. Second point, you state what it's protecting, the brain. And for the third point, you link that protection directly to performance. Why does it matter? Because it allows the player to perform the skill successfully and safely and then continue playing. Boom, boom, boom. That's a perfect answer.
You know, this whole thing really boils down to one key takeaway. The shape and type of bones determine the amount of movement that is possible. In other words, structure dictates function. The incredible design of our bones and our joints is precisely what allows for the amazing range of human movement.
So as we wrap this up, just remember that this amazing framework of yours isn't some static piece of architecture. It is a living system. It responds, it adapts to the demands you place on it. It literally gets stronger when you challenge it. So the only question left is, now that you know what it's truly capable of, what movements are you going to ask of your skeleton today?